It just seemed just right though for today. Okay. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yep. What a fun time for us as coaches and our staff and everyone that loves Oklahoma football to celebrate at Christmas time all the new young men and families that we get to welcome into our family. Incredibly proud of our staff for putting together an amazing class up to this point in time. Love the 25 plus guys that we have committed right now. 14 different states represented and counting. Met tremendous needs and have a foundational player in Jackson Arnold at quarterback. Addressed the lines of scrimmage with up to this point in time, 5 defensive linemen and 4 offensive linemen, and again more to come. We've got length and speed on both sides of the ball at skill. 2 terrific running backs and Caleb Hicks and Dalen Smothers from North Carolina and Texas, and love our receivers outside that could take the top off the defense, and Keon Brown and Jaquez Petaway. And then our versatility in our back seven is really special. In my opinion, Lewis Carter was a top 5 linebacker in the country with his speed and instincts, his agility. He's every bit as good of a running back as he is a linebacker. If you understand the history at Tampa Catholic with Coach McIntyre and what he's building there, and what they were able to do this year, beating perennial powers and in Berkeley Prep and also crosstown rival, and the places he's been able to help take that program really special. And Omosio, Sammy Omosio, another versatile outside linebacker from Crandall, just a fantastic football player. And then Phil Picciotti, who I felt like was one of the most violent middle linebackers. Just can't block this guy. Violent hands, great instincts, really what you want to be strong on a defense, to be strong on defense, just being strong up the middle. Versatility, I really feel like all of the 6 right now in counting defensive backs, I feel like they all could play corner, safety, dime, 6-pack, nickelback, cheetah. These guys are long and fast and instinctive. Kendall Dolby, Jacoby Johnson, Eric McCarty, Dave McCullough, Makari Vickers, and Josiah Wagner. Just a tremendous group of athletes and intelligence, instincts, ball skills. The lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball is incredibly important, and we're still recruiting to those positions. Again, defensive line, generally speaking, and offensive line. We've got 4 great ones on the offensive line. Josh Bates being our first commitment back in August of 21. He's never flinched, and love his belief in, along with all of these recruits and their families, the belief, the stick-to-itness that we ask our players to have all the time. They certainly have represented that because people came at all of them with, you can imagine the dialogue or the, waving money and opportunity at these guys, and they never flinched, and that's just affirmation because, obviously you have to be good enough athletically and talented, but I think that's just the bare minimum. We're really looking for the right people. 18 of the 25 guys that, we're talking about, were former captains, where they come from, great leaders where they're at, excellent students, but just people that have been about commitment, and they understand the hard that it takes to be great, the work ethic that it takes. And, even though there were some storms this season, I know we didn't plan for it to be 6-6. As a matter of fact, we planned for exactly opposite of that. And so despite that, these players and their families, again, never flinched. And had one family, the mama told me, we're not rich, we're not poor, but we're good. And this is about helping my son become a man, helping him chase his dreams, and making sure that he's held accountable to getting his degree. And that's just a breath of fresh air. That's what college should be about. We know there's less than 2% of all college football players ever have a chance to make an opening day roster. And so, the holistic development is a very real thing and something that we take tremendous pride in. It's a huge responsibility and obligation, one we don't take lightly. Matter of fact, we take great pride in doing exactly that. And so, being relational, we found relationship-driven, student athletes and families that wanted to feel connection as opposed to transactions. And so we're really, really proud and thankful for these young men and their families. And I know I was talking about the offensive linemen, Caden Green, Logan Howland, and Heath Ozida from the great state of Washington, Logan from New Jersey, and Caden Green from Kansas City, and Josh obviously out in the middle of Colorado, out in Durango. Again, I spoke about Caleb Hicks from Denton Ryan, as good a football as you'll see in high school. Week in and week out, he was the best player on the field. Just tremendous power and strength, and runs through trash very well. Really runs behind his pads well. Great young man. Ran with toughness. And then Dalen Smothers, who just as a sophomore was a Gatorade Player of the Year in a very fertile state in North Carolina. And again, same thing. He's one of the further guys away from Norman, but he never flinched as well. And if you know anything about North Carolina and North Carolina State, in that state, it's not an easy thing to compete with. Trust me. And then defensive line, again, signed 5 up to this point in time. PJ Adebarwe, just a fantastic young man. His brother getting ready to get drafted high, a defensive lineman at Northwestern. But he's broad, he's long, he's all arms and limbs. He can really run, very explosive, natural instincts as a pass rusher. Got a great frame, just south of 230 pounds. Really like where he's at in what his future looks like. Derek LeBlanc is a technician. He's got an old soul to him. As a young man, I think he's been here like 10 times. Just a very relationship-driven young man. Ashton Sanders got a great story. He and PJ, along with Marcus Strong and Taylor Wine, the other defensive linemen, all 4 of those guys were relatively unknown after their junior years, and were guys that developed. And we want to be a developmental program. We don't want to be in a hurry to be the first to offer, the first to get a commitment. We want to make sure we get one that lasts and that's impactful. And those young men they've all got great stories, but Ashton out of L.A. Is a really excellent athlete. Is a bigger guy, just over 300 pounds, and tremendously agile, got great feet. Marcus Strong, again, is a jumbo defensive lineman, can play outside and inside. And then Taylor Wine, again, another broad and long and high motor guy that can rush the passer, plays with tremendous effort at a really high classification against good competition in the state of Tennessee. All excellent students, and as I said before, great leaders as well. Cade McIntyre, love his versatility, can play on either side of the ball, and there's lots of guys that could play on either side of the ball. Jacoby Johnson, Makari Vickers, Josiah Wagner, Dalen Smothers would be a monster safety. Again, he's going to be a great running back for us, but Dalen Smothers, love his, again, versatility. Jaquez Petaway, he could lock down on either side of the ball. And then Cade McIntyre, a guy that we really felt would be an impactful player at both linebacker and tight end, and asked him which side of the ball he'd prefer, and he chose tight end. So these are the guys that are committed up to this point in time. Again, as I said, leaders, great students. We're looking for young men that are looking for the things that we value, that we talked about many times over the last 12 months: relationships, education. They value structure and accountability and discipline. They're looking for connection, not only in the present, but forever. These are young men that care about their legacies and leaving their mark somewhere, and being committed to something that at a place like Oklahoma that represents excellence. I'm really proud of our staff and all the people internally, J.R. Sandlin and Lee Davis, amongst others, Drew Hill and JP just did an outstanding job, relentless in their work, in the coaches, finding the right guys that are going to fit the profile that we're looking for here at Oklahoma. And again, as I said before, feel like there'll be give or take up to 10 additional players by the time it's all said and done, when we get to the either the first day of classes of the spring semester, or by the time we get to the February signing date. Again, we have 14 different states represented. We're going to have roughly 20 guys or so be mid-year, and I don't know, and then the other one just here locally, I'm incredibly excited about. Again, Chapman McCowan, another running back. He's represented excellence since he's been, a freshman at Norman North. And regardless of whatever sport he's in, he's dominated. So whether it's wrestling or track, baseball, certainly football, just an outstanding young man, great family, and love the leadership and the toughness that he'll add. He'll be a mid-year as well. Austin Stogner, as y'all are very familiar with, it will be with us as well. And I met Austin maybe my second or third day here, and he just wanted to shake my hand and tell me he was gone. So he'd already made that decision, and once I realized that it didn't matter what I had to say, it was just something that he felt he needed and wanted to do. I wished him well, and but now he's realized he wants to finish his career here at Oklahoma. He felt like this was home, and you'll all have an opportunity at some point in time to interview him, but really felt like this is where he wanted to be to finish his career, and we felt like he could be a tremendous addition. We know the talent, the size, the length, the athlete that Austin is, and what a weapon he can be in our offense. So incredibly excited about him as well. So with that, I'll open it up.
Start with Eric Bailey.
Brandon, I want to ask you just about the defense. Was there a specific grouping that you felt the most needs? And then also, how important is it just not to depend on the portal at times like this, but to build that foundation and get the type of players you did out of the high schools?
Well, as you know, we've, between graduation and our own portal, guys that have gotten into the portal, addressing every single position on the team was a need. You don't graduate that many guys and then lose that many guys and not feel like it's important to replace all of them. And so, but that's something that's been in the works for several months, something that, under the current way that the structure is in college football, with the ability for players to leave at any point in time, and certainly for us to have our ducks in a row for what we felt was most important in the portal to address. That's kind of where we're at. So no particular position that was more important than the other. Lines of scrimmages are always incredibly important, and playmakers across the board. Guys that can make plays, competitive plays on offense when the ball's in the air. Guys that are about, doing the same thing on defense. We're looking for runners and looking for guys that like contact. And I just think you can't ever go wrong when you're talking about defensive players, guys that can run and hit. And so guys that, guys that are committed in the classroom, that was really important to all of us as a staff. Usually if guys that have, great ability on the field, but, average, output in the classroom, you're gonna get an inconsistent player. That's been my experience for as long as I've been a coach. So finding, again, young men, whether it's through the portal or from high school also that were young men that were committed to excellence. Again, finding guys that are captains, guys that the coaches can't say enough amazing things about, guys that were very low maintenance in the initial stages of recruiting. Again, I love where there's an NIL, our collectives and our philosophy. I love where we're at. I think it's a very excellent place, and it's going to lead to a healthy locker room. Certainly, in this arena, I don't think there's any perfect place, but I do love where we're at.
For more information, you can visit TulsaWorld.com.